Hello my dear learners, welcome to today's lesson. We are going to have, this is science grade 6, and we are going to have a summary of the topic of animals, the summary of animals. Now, under this, you remember in grade 5 we looked at what we call vertebrates. Vertebrates. In grade 5 we looked at vertebrates. And we saw that vertebrates are animals that have backbones. The animals that have backbones are the ones we call vertebrates. So today, don't have backbones are what we call the invertebrates. Now, these invertebrates are divided into 4 categories. They are divided into 4 categories. Now, so they are classified or rather divided into 4 categories. So, the categories or the classification of these invertebrates, we are going to write them down. The first category we have are what we call the insects. So we have number 1, insects, that is being the first category of the invertebrates. And then number 2, we have what we call the ticks and the spiders. Ticks and spiders. Number 3, we have millipedes and centipedes. Millipedes and centipedes. Number 4, we have the snails and the slugs. So those are the 4 categories of invertebrates. So we are going to look at the characteristics of each and every of these categories of invertebrates we have listed there. And now we shall start with the first one. We are going to begin with the characteristics of insects. Characteristics of insects. Now, the insects, we have the following characteristics. The first one, their bodies are divided into 3 parts. Their bodies are divided into 3 parts. Now, the 3 parts are the head, we have the thorax, and we have the abdomen. Those are the 3 parts of insects. So the insect's body is divided into 3 parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The second characteristic is that they have 6 legs. The insects have 6 legs. So all insects have 6 legs. Next, their bodies are divided into rings or segments. Their bodies are divided into rings or segments. The fourth characteristic is that they have a pair of antennae. They have a pair of antennae. Antennae are those, we have 2 things that are normally found on the head of an insect. That is what we call the antenna. Next, they breathe through spiracles. Insects breathe through spiracles. And then they have compound eyes. So those are the characteristics of insects. Now, if we look at examples of insects, we have things like the housefly, we have the mosquitoes, we also have weevils, we have grasshoppers, we have cockroaches, etc. So those are some of the examples of insects. Now, next, let's look at what we call the characteristics of the snails and slugs. Characteristics of the snails and slugs. Now, first of all, what is the difference between a snail and a slug? Now, some pupils normally confuse between snails and slugs. Most of you normally call slugs as snakes. They term slugs as snakes, but that's not the case. Snails have a shell on their back. They normally have a shell for protection, but slugs do not have a shell. So that is the main difference between the snails and the slugs. Now let's look at the characteristics. This one, the snakes and slugs are also known as the mollusks. They are also known as the mollusks. So that is the other name of snails and slugs. They are termed to as the mollusks. Characteristics, the first one, they have soft body. They have soft body that is not segmented. They have soft body that is not segmented. So their bodies are not segmented. The second one, they have a single foot. They have a single foot. The third one, they are unsegmented. They are unsegmented. Next, they have a coiled shell for protect. Snails, that is only for snails. Snails have a coiled shell for protection, while slugs do not have a coiled shell for protection. Next, they have a thick muscular foot for movement. They have a thick muscular foot for movement. And then lastly, they have a head with 2 pairs of tentacles. They have a head with 2 pairs of tentacles. Now, we talked about the thick muscle which they have for movement. Now, this thick muscle normally produce what we call slime. The thick muscles produce what we call slime. Now, and this slime is what the snakes and slugs use for movement. They glide on it for movement. Remember, snails and slugs move by gliding. So they glide on the slime which is produced by the muscles they have. Next, now we look at characteristics of the millipedes and centipedes. Characteristics. Characteristics of millipedes and centipedes. There is also normally a confusion between millipedes and centipedes, which are the millipedes and which are the centipedes. Now, the millipedes, if you write the word millipede, you remove you write the first 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 or 5 letters, milli, stands for millions. So between the millipedes and the centipedes, millipedes normally have many legs. The legs of the millipedes are more than those of the centipedes. So the milli, it can help you to differentiate between the centipede, which is the centipedes and the millipede. So milli, assume they have millions of legs. No, I'm not saying they have millions, but the legs are more than those ones on the centipedes. The centipedes, that is scent. Scent is normally how many cents do we have in a shilling? We have 10 cents in a shilling, and those cents they are not more than millions. So that is something that can help you differentiate between centipedes and millipedes. So centipedes, they have fewer legs. That is the ones which are normally poisonous, the centipedes. Millipedes have more legs than the centipedes. So let's look at the characteristics. The first one, they have a pair of antennae. They have a pair of antennae. Number two, they have pairs of legs. They have many pairs, they have many pairs of legs. And then number three, their body parts, they have many body parts. They have many body parts or segments. And then lastly, they breathe through spiracles. Remember, we also said insects breathe through spiracles, and so do millipedes and centipedes. They also breathe through spiracles. Then lastly, let's look at what we call characteristics of spiders and ticks. Characteristics of spiders and ticks. The first one, their bodies are divided into two body parts. Their bodies are divided into two body parts. Next, they have 8 legs which are jointed. They have 8 legs which are jointed. And then they have simple eyes. They have simple eyes. Next, they do not have wings. They do not have wings. And then next, they breathe through trachea or lungs. They breathe through the trachea or the lungs. So those are the characteristics of the spiders and ticks. Now, having said that, I'll give you some questions in order for you to be able to see if you have understood the summary of animals, whereby we've mainly looked at the invertebrates. So I'm going to now give you questions about the cell. In our next video, that is the one I'm going to give you next, is the one that has the questions.